Cool.
Tyler, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing well. Officially
Yeah.
springtime, getting on summer, obviously back here in Boston.
Yeah, you can kind of feel that a little bit out there. I'm in LA right now, going to Ohio tomorrow. When we left about 2 weeks ago, it was just dumping rain every day and pretty muddy. So eager to kind of get back and see all the flowers and everything in Midwest.
Yeah, love the not to sound too cliche, but I love the spirit is in the air. You can sense it. So
Yeah, no, for sure. It's cool. That is, yeah, that's a beautiful thing about the seasons, I guess, Midwest, East Coast kind of stuff. It's when that sun comes out, it's a little bit of a different vibration at the park. You know what I mean? There's some people are excited and they're stoked, and it's cool. They're no longer like, "Fuck, I just got to get back to the house so I'm not cold or I'm not wet." Like they're like, "Damn, I'm gonna sit here and kind of hang out with this tree or something for a minute," like,
I
which
know.
is always a sick thing. So yeah, for sure.
So aside from the additional vitamin D happening all around you,
Yeah, yeah.
um, what would you say, for you working and being out in Los Angeles for the show that you're doing at Simchowitz,
hmm
but just how would you say that Los Angeles, or maybe Los Angeles or California or Los Angeles specifically, is different for you?
Yeah, I mean, work-wise, it's there's just so much there's so much going on in the sense of like infrastructure, like human made infrastructure is like sometimes like a little overwhelming when you're out here. And I was talking to a buddy the other day about it, and it it makes so much sense that New York is the way that it is, in which it was developed or founded in the sense of like horses and walking, and you had to really be able to, Boston where you're at, it was founded in the where they were walking everywhere or riding a horse or whatever, and so everything is a little bit more kind of compact in that way, obviously. But LA is different, because it's like a car city. Like everything is kind of far apart in a way. Everything, there's not much, at least in the times that you can go to like little pockets, it seems like, Silver Lake, Highland Park, like these kind of spots. But it's a lot of driving. It's a lot of kind of being in your own little bubble and going place to place. And so that in itself is pretty wild. And just so many people is there's just so much going on in that regard. But it's nice, man. I mean, I think the regular stereotypical weather stuff is obviously so sick. Just being able to work outside is crazy. You're just like in the sun all day, hanging out, working, which is a blessing for sure. And it has California is crazy. I mean, maybe just being from the Midwest, or I would think America in general. I mean, it's the end. It's that that it's the end of the race. It's like westward expansion, like all the way. It is the paradise at the end of the thing in a way. It's like the manifest destiny. It's kind of what and that is somewhat palpable. I mean, that comes with so much baggage, obviously, but if it feels like that out here, and sometimes, I mean, obviously not all the time, but there's a lightness in a way. I don't know if some of that is manicured or what that is, but yeah, it does feel good. And people are, it's interesting. It really is. I really enjoy it in a lot of ways. I don't know if I would LA proper, if I could see us being here like full time by any means, but it is cool. It does make you feel good in a lot of ways.
It's always a fantastic place to visit. I remember when you and I were chatting about it, you were saying how you felt like one of these, Wall Street traders, shouting with the sheets in hand, with
Oh yeah.
all the different friends and people that that inevitably, when you're out there. There's just a lot of people, a lot of things to do, a lot of things to go see. But like you said, everything's 25 minutes to an hour away.
For sure. And it's great. Yeah, that's what it yeah, it does feel, there's just, which is awesome, and that's why people are here, and you understand why there's always like, we're leaving tomorrow, and Lila was like, damn, I wish we stay. There's like a thing to go do tomorrow, you know, and she's like, but it's all right. There's always a thing, you know, there's always like, which I'm not really out, you know, I'm not at all the things, but it just is yeah, it's just, you know, it's crazy. It's such a different speed of life than back home in Ohio. It's just so much, just a lot going on, you know. It's crazy.
Well, quickly before we jump into the show,
Mhm.
and if you guys are, you know, keen for a little miniature trek to, I guess, is it East Hollywood maybe? But there's a restaurant out there that I
Mhm.
absolutely treasure. It's a
Mhm.
Thai restaurant called Jit Lada. Have I told you about this place before?
No, no, it sounds good though.
It's incredible. It is absolutely the best Thai food I've ever had. And
Yeah.
a little bit more context. The artist from The Simpsons, Matt Groening, goes there like pretty much on the regular and has for forever. So like
Yeah.
all the placemats that he draws on are like framed all over the walls.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like walk in. I don't even know if they take reservations, but you know, in terms of like one of the absolute pinnacle places to eat in Los Angeles, like I think it was Jonathan Gold's favorite, like famous food critic, like his favorite Thai spot in Los Angeles as well. So,
Wow.
anyways,
Yeah,
that's a rec for you.
no, that's the funny thing about LA, I think more so than any other city I've been to, is that maybe it is so spaced out that I love, I really like the, everybody has kind of their spot in a
Yeah,
way. And then there's also always this feeling, this like weird scavenger hunt, treasure hunt of a thing, you know? Like
totally.
the other day, like some homies like pulled up and they brought some Mediterranean food from Glendale, and they were like, "Dude, it's the best Mediterranean in LA." And you're like, "What?" It's like in a strip mall in Glendale. So there's just always like this weird, you know, Lila's always talking about this Chinese restaurant that's way up in like Tahunga, and you're like, there's always like this weird scavenger hunt of an existence in kind of a way, which is cool. It really is cool. So yeah, that is something that's like exciting, and you definitely eat good food, so that's always cool.
No, without a doubt. Well, the opening, the stuff that I saw from social for Oak Bucket
Yeah,
at the Simchowitz Gallery seemed phenomenal.
thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah, no, congratulations, and I don't know, talk about the opening kind of night that you were there.
Yeah, it was cool. It was, you know, openings are always like a very humbling, like beautiful thing. I think the thing that I love the most about having, when you have an opening, I just like seeing maybe the works or the paintings and people interact with them. Like I like seeing people not even directly looking at them, but just a room with people in it, and then your work is like on the wall. And you know, because a lot of these paintings were done in 2018, and they kind of got painted in Ohio, and I drove them out here, and they've been, you know, a couple have been dispersed, I guess, but a lot of them have been in storage and just kind of waiting for the opportunity and all that to come around. So it's really cool to see them have a life and people around them and interacting, and what people's interpretations of stuff is. And yeah, it's really nice. You know, it's great to see some friends and meet new friends, and it's cool. It really, I feel very lucky to be able to do stuff like that. So
Quick question as a just
mm,
very kind of casual observation. What
mhm.
was the backstory, if any? Maybe it was just aromatherapy, but the orange peels in the corner.
Oh yeah, so I yeah, I don't know if you want the whole story, but I for a couple of years I was making all those oranges are fake. Like I was making oranges for halves of oranges for a couple of years, and just making them essentially by the bag. So it's like 40 to 50 orange halves per orange bag.
Hmm.
And I was doing that for a long time, and coincidentally, there's a lot of them out here. Like Stefan owns like a, you know, handful of them, and I think they have a different presence to them in California than maybe they do in the Midwest. Like in the Midwest, it's like a little bit more. Nobody ever thinks they're real in the Midwest, but you bring them out to California, and the amount of people that have thought that they were just for what you just said, to like make it smell good, or and you know, like because people have a different relationship with them, I think, because of the produce and all that. They Nobody ever assumes that they're real unless you're in California, which is really funny, and it's something I never intended or thought would be part of it. But yeah, I was making all these orange halves, and I went to Colombia years ago with some friends, and you know, they're making all the orange juices fresh right there in the juice carts, and I just thought that the rinds of all that was just a beautiful object in itself, just crammed into all these bags, and just thought about it a lot, and it really it triggered like a lot of stuff with memory for me, like just in the color combination of stuff, you know, the orange and the yellow. It really reminded me of this. So you know, it goes off on a tangent, but reminded me of this iced tea container that I used to get with my dad in Pittsburgh, and it's this local Pennsylvania dairy farm that makes this sweet tea, and also, you know, they make cheeses and butters and stuff, but it's specifically for like around the Pittsburgh area. And yeah, I think a lot of the work, you know, it's not even really so much about the fruit in general. I mean, I love oranges, but I like the half stuff, you know. I think with a lot of the other work, if I have to be introspective and try to understand why I like it, I think it's, you got a whole orange and then you cut it in half, and then you have two things. And I think the same thing about people, you know, and then that just goes on for infinity. And yeah, whether it's pennies to make $1 or two orange halves to make a whole orange, I think it all kind of comes from the same place. And it's funny, yeah. Man, it's so funny that everybody thinks they're real in California, which is cool. Makes me feel good about my paint job, I guess.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And
Yeah.
what material are they made out of?
Yeah, so they're made out of resin. It's like a smooth cast 326 or something, which I I've been trying in the last couple of years to maybe not make so much plastic stuff. I mean, I know that sounds, I'm not like whatever, like I don't know. I there was a certain level of guilt where I was just like, damn, I'm making like hundreds and hundreds of little chunks of plastic. So I haven't made that many of them in recent years. But I still really do like them visually. And a lot of times they're people, I made like they were all made in bags essentially. Because that's how they were when I first saw them. And then I also like, I'm sure we'll get into it with the well paintings, but you know, when you have all these halves of all these different people in your life or whatever, and you know, in your family lineage, and to a certain degree, they're contained in this bag, if that makes any sense. So they're like contained in this thing, and you're like, oh, this person was born this year, lived here, did that. And so you have like a structure around it. You can like hold it in this thing, and that bag, or you know, the whatever figurative, literal, whatever bag, at a certain point does disintegrate, and then those things kind of just are no longer contained, and that structure that you thought you kind of had a handle on, it goes away. So that is something that I maybe didn't intend to happen, but I just really love how that's unfolded, you know, and seeing them exist, like seeing them over the years in places that people have acquired them, or you know, they just slowly start to fall out of that bag over the years, and then eventually like that bag kind of disintegrates, and you just have a pile of oranges, which I think is really beautiful. I think is kind of a logistical nightmare, but the idea sounds very like pretty to me, I guess. But yeah, they're made out of resin, and then I just you know, go to the grocery or whatever, flea market or grocery or the farmer's market, and get some oranges and cut them in half, make a mold of them, and yeah, just kind of turn into a monk for a couple weeks and just paint hundreds of oranges, which is cool. I mean, not a monk. I wish I was a monk, but just, you know, I just sit in a chair and just over and over and over again, which is pretty cool.
No doubt.
Yeah,
It is a meditative practice, like
for sure. Yeah,
a monk would do. So,
yeah.
as you were saying, the paintings from Oak Bucket are
Hmm.
from 2018, and
Yeah. I think I made the first one in probably 2017, but then for the next year and a half, I was really making a lot of those things. So
you know, just hearing your description about the oranges and then knowing some of the I guess um things that went into the well paintings, you know, I listened to our previous pod, and
Hmm.
to quote you from that, you know, you reference this work from Kerry James Marshall,
Hmm.
Portrait of My Former Self.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
that title of that work from him would almost seem a little bit apt to describe
for
kind
sure.
of what's going on here with you and your relationship to these works.
Yeah, of course. I think yeah, the well paintings more specifically for sure. And I think that I didn't ever, when I started making these, I guess when I made those paintings, I wasn't even, I knew who Carrie was, but I wasn't as much, of a fan or whatever that I am now. So I think that there was never, I never like intended on like having like, oh, this be my version of that. It's just, I think that, we kind of care or think about the same things in a lot of ways. And it's very humbling and cool, that anybody would ever make any sort of connection between something that I made and that guy, because he's just the coolest. So um yeah, I think that it definitely is coming from the same vein for sure.
You have this, you know, I don't want to say theme, but it's definitely a strong thread in your work in terms of the found objects, you know, the aesthetic, the general aesthetic of like Americana, like you were saying,
Hmm.
the the
Yeah.
the bucolic scenes of the baby bear and the mama bear, or the elk, or you know,
Hmm.
whatever. And you know, just describe like how you view like blacking out certain areas of the work and leaving others, as if you're, I don't know, like almost trying to kind of like simultaneously distill down the moment that is
Mm.
shown in each one of these works, and at the same time, you know, project into the future this element of the unknown, and like you said, having no control over what
Yeah,
comes out
yeah.
of the bag.
For sure. I think that, those the rugs they call them wall tapestries or wall rugs, which is like kind of a clunky thing. And but the initial imagery on those things is majority of the time, like you're saying, like a very domestic, family oriented thing of, yeah, the stag with the fawn and the whole, the mama bear, baby bear, and uh big horse, little baby horse. It's a lot of those things, and I think that that's very comforting to people to have in their home, and it's warm because it's textile, and then it has this imagery that is very, textbook, like what, so I think that that's kind of why they've had like a presence in maybe people's homes or any of that stuff. But I've, in being so like, into the genealogy and kind of history and prehistory of all of that, I started, I've always liked that stuff and been, asked grandparents and great grandparents about all, like, oh, well, where did your parents come from? Or what did they do? And what did this do? And so, you can do that on like a personal level, and you can go pretty deep, like, and for my, part of the one side of my family, I can get back to like 1600s in Switzerland for like one branch of my family tree. But that's just kind of as far back as it goes. And at that point, it just becomes this ethereal, like magic thing. Like it's no longer about myself, and it's just kind of about all of everybody, everything that's ever been and ever will be. It kind of, and I think the black is that, it's everything all mixed together to create that like super depth that just kind of just, I hope at times I can maybe make, that one that makes it almost feel like it goes on forever. And I think in taking out all that imagery of the family and all that stuff, and the context in which you kind of understand, you're like, oh, that's a dad, that's a mom, and they're standing there and they're doing it. Like, you remove all that context, and all you kind of have left is the peripheral things. And you just kind of, the most you ever know is just some little, maybe, when somebody was born or when they died. It's, so you never really have the full picture of like what it is, and you'll never really know. And that was, in making those works, really helped me find a lot of comfort in not knowing, and that it's like okay to not know. And no matter how hard you try, I don't know if like maybe on this plane of existence if we'll ever, there's nothing to you can't there's nothing to figure out, so you can't figure it out, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
you can know, but you're never gonna know.
Yeah, no, there's a favorite Bob Dylan lyric from a song that the name of the song is "It's All Right, Ma,"
Yeah, yeah,
and the lyric is, "To understand, you know too soon. There is no sense in trying."
yeah, for sure. And I think that that's being, yeah, of course, I mean, that's beautiful, and I think that that's, as people, or as humans, we do this like weird thing where we try to get a grasp on like everything. We want, it's like time and days and like weeks and birthdays and all this stuff, and like, those things give a parameter to what it is that we're doing. And like, oh, you're getting older, like, that like the things start to transition because now you're older. It's like you're just grasping onto this thing that, at the bottom of the handle that you're grasping is magic. Like there's nothing to grab, and like the sooner you kind of figure that out, I think that it helped me a lot in like not taking things. And I obviously, it's still a work in progress to say the least, but once you figure that out, it helps you in being more present and like having a daily life that's less like altered by those things. And you just have to understand it, and I think too, I think it's an Alan Watts quote, but I don't know, but it's talking about like how rugs and like stuff like that is made, in the sense of it is like a singular thread, like it starts as a singular thread from a spool, and then that thing gets woven and put together in a certain way and does create a picture in the end, or even just creates an object that is infinite. And once you just try your best to understand that in a way, it's really super humbling and freeing, I guess. And that's kind of just what, I'm trying to do, is do that for myself. And yeah. Yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, no, I mean, there's obvious, you've described this kind of thing before where there's this, everybody has a desire to know certain things. And sometimes I think, when we get certain answers that we don't want, we want to control what we're hearing as to those answers, right? I think
for sure.
you said, right, like refusing to accept a certain answer around something.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but like the oranges, or like you said about, the layers of a person,
hmm
it you can't pin a lot of that down ever.
Yeah.
So it just becomes this kind of practice of being in that void or whatever.
hmm Yeah,
Um,
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, it reminded me a lot of just what you said about, being in a abandoned factory somewhere, maybe in Ohio, and
Yeah.
and like you said, like tracing back the echoes of that building to,
Mhm.
where you were present day, and
Yeah,
what you were hoping to sort of, I guess, glean from those kinds of places.
for sure. Yeah, I think it's, you can take it all the way back and go all the way there, or it can be like so simple. We had a friend that lived in our neighborhood that just moved away, and I was walking the dogs the other day, and some stranger that I don't know walked out of his house. And it's like even stuff like that where you're like, damn, like I had a context of like where I knew somebody was, and they're in there, and now the parameters of that have changed, and there's somebody in there that's it just keeps like moving forward. The thing keeps pushing downstream. So it's cool. It's interesting to witness.
Yeah, yeah, and I also think that just like you said about the word magic is, without getting so effusive on it, it's an amazing word, because I think in today's world we have so much incredible technology around us that
Mm,
I think there is this kind of inclination to try and arrive at an explanation via Google
mhm,
within the next 15 seconds, kind of thing.
mhm,
That being said, I think that there are so many different examples. throughout history where it's like, sometimes when people don't need to over define something,
Hmm.
or need to kind of categorize it the same way that you would from like a search engine optimization ranking perspective or something like that,
Yeah, of course.
right? You're just there's like this like opportunity for it to become or take on like a whole host of other um interpretations, and
Hmm.
it, you know again, hearing what you had to say about the body of work that went into this show and what it meant for you. And this is kind of getting back to just, I guess maybe you talk to people the night of, maybe they had interpretations. The funniest thing came to mind for me, which was that movie Being John Malkovich.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know if you ever saw it, but like,
of course, yeah.
right, like the whole movie was like him being kind of stuck, or there being, right, this like kind of magical wormhole that like anybody could like sort of swoop in, but at the same time like there was this kind of very obvious void or vacuum
Mm.
that moment lived inside of.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a beautiful movie. The movie really is so good. Yeah, man. I mean, they're interesting in that way. I hope they just have. I think anything that you do, I just try to maybe hope that they have a certain presence to them, and yeah, it's like I don't even, I'm talking to you, but it's like I'm not like walking up to people at the show like, oh, let me explain to you like why this is what it is or anything.
Sure.
It's just if there's an interest, like of course I can talk about it, but I don't ever want to have to make something that has this like that has a threshold for you to even interact with it, that you need to have this laundry list of reasons of why it even exists. So if somebody just enjoys being around something and feels a certain presence to it without even knowing who I am, what it is, what anything like that, to me is a really important part of like being an artist or being anybody that does anything. That's the cool, beautiful part. Like
Right.
so, or
A
one of
thousand.
them, I guess.
No, 1,000%. I mean, and at the same time, I mean, how cool is it that like, I mean, obviously I have a decent amount of backstory from you on what went into those, but
Hmm.
when you look at them, I mean, it's pretty interesting that you're communicating something that's got a lot of pretty authentic, genuine, like, you know, born and raised layers to it. And at the same time, somebody who's just like popping into the show that evening could
Yeah.
probably could probably get a sense for what you're trying to communicate,
Yeah.
which I think is like kind of storytelling at its best. So
For sure, yeah, I hope so. It's funny seeing the paintings too, like because they're kind of made in this way. They're not exactly painted, so you don't really ever have like a brush stroke. It's more of like a controlled drip, I would say, is like how they're kind of made. So you scoop a bunch of paint up on like a 1 inch brush, is usually like a whatever, like house angled brush, and you kind of like control the drip. Like you like drip it in the places that you need it to be, and it's never in much of like the classic like painting way. So it's cool in that regard. And I it's funny to just think of them. And when I started making them like a couple weeks prior, I had went there's this guy in Indiana that maybe has he's claiming world's largest paintball, and it's just this old dude like, and he's got a little like side garage thing, and you can make a reservation and go check out, and it's a paintball, and he's painted it like 1 to 2 layers for 30 years, and it's now like hung on this crazy like crane apparatus thing, like because it's so heavy. I mean, it's as big as it's huge, it's like almost as big as a Volkswagen Bug, like it's so big, and it started as just like a spherical baseball, and he just painted it for the last oh sorry he painted it for the last 30 years, and it just is the coolest thing, and going and seeing that, and he just does it because he loves to do it. Like he's not like, I'm gonna make a statement by doing it. You're just so those paintings, I always, whenever I personally see them, those are the kind of things that I hope maybe other people take away from stuff. is when I look at them, I think of course, like all the family things, I guess, that I think about, but also like, damn, how cool would it be if you just painted one of these for 30 years and the paint was like 7 feet thick, you know? Like, how cool would that be when I see him? And I just think about that dude in Indiana, just like going out to his garage and like rolling a coat of paint on this ball every day. It's like, it's pretty cool, but yeah, it's funny. So I hope other people have, you know, like you, yeah, I just hope it's like a lightness to it. I hope that when people see things, and who knows, but yeah, maybe you had a really good day and then you whatever saw the show and now you know you think, or maybe it's the opposite and you had a bad day and now you see them and you're like, these fucking things. So I don't know. So hopefully it just like maybe somewhere along the way has a present, has a seat at somebody's table, I guess, or something like that.
No, 1000%. No,
Yeah.
they're incredible, and I'm so stoked for you in terms of just being able to take something from 4 years ago, and or plus or
Yeah.
minus, right? Or I guess more than
Yeah.
that, you said 2017, and show them to the
Yeah, for
to the
sure.
world at large, especially some folks in Los Angeles, that crazy place.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, man. It's cool. That's like definitely I think now at this point my favorite part of having shows, and yeah, very humbling and a beautiful thing. And I just like seeing them. I just like seeing work with people around them. Like I just like, you know, because usually, you know, you paint it and you're just look, it's just there's nothing in between you and the work and you're just staring directly at it. But when you're at a show and there's a couple people in front of it and you're kind of looking at it through two or three people and they're blocking parts of it and just being around it and absorbing it and it absorbing them and like all this stuff is definitely my, I think right now my favorite part of doing all that.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, look, man, I don't want to keep you from the rest of your day, especially being that this is the last day that you're
Yeah.
in the
No,
Sunshine State. So, like I said, if you get a chance to check out Jitlada, do it.
Yeah, I should go up there. I don't think we have plans tonight as far as eating, so love to get some Thai food.
It's never a bad call, and if you can handle spicy food,
Yeah.
they literally there have this thing called like whatever, like mild, medium, hot, super hot, whatever, and then they have like
Hmm.
the top of the pyramid. It's Jitlada hot, or maybe they call it Jitlada
Whoa.
spicy, and you have to like promise them that you're like not going to send the food back because
Whoa.
it comes off the line like really real deal.
Wow. You get
Yeah.
like a t-shirt or something if you eat it? You get like a free
No,
bumper sticker or something?
I think you basically just get like a nod and a wink from the gal that runs the
Yeah.
place. Her name is
Yeah, cool.
Jazz. She's like sort of a semi-legend in the
Oh
food
wow.
space in Los Angeles, I'm sure. But
Whoa. Are you so you're going gelada hot? You're going all the way up?
I've done Jitlada hot once,
Yeah.
and
It's about all you need.
yeah, no, I managed. I mean, there's a first or second time to do everything in life, I suppose, and so
Yeah.
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 But yeah, at the end of the day, like the whole menu is quite literally different than any Thai experience I think that anyone would have. Everybody always
Oh
says that.
wow.
Yeah, you go there and you're just like, there's like a family recipe thing there for sure that is just different.
Yeah. Wow. Great. I
So
mean, I'm sold. So I'll see what Lila's talking about and maybe try to go over there.
yeah, give it a look.
Cool. Well, thanks, man. It's always sick to talk to you, and you know, hopefully we can do it again. And
Yeah,
yeah, this is great.
no, I'm greatly appreciate the time. Safe travels back to Ohio, and
Sick.
let me know it's good when you get back out there.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, cool.
See ya.